I know there's a lot of people out here that need a different type of healing, okay? And I just want to share what has worked for me. Me being an empath and going through my own traumatic moments and going through years of my own healing, I would just love to share this with other people, and hopefully it helps somebody out here. I'm also a professional life coach and a positive psychology practitioner, and a spiritual mentor. I mean, I've been a spiritual mentor all my life, so I pretty much traveled that area my whole life. So my mission is to share out here with others, just different I guess pointers, tactics that worked in my own healing and whatever I was dealing with. So hopefully that'll help someone out here. I mainly focus on going deep within, and that's a very painful process. I do understand that, and I do understand that some people are not willing to go in deep because it's very painful, but that's just part of the healing process. Most of us fear the pain, but not knowing, fully conscious that we are constantly living through that pain, where we're constantly living through that survival mode. This is just an automatic thing that we go into, just by we build up these walls, right? Trying to soothe or trying to protect ourselves from more pain, but we constantly live in that pain until we truly heal it. So pain is part of the healing process. And I know a lot of people don't want to see that because they're like, well, I've been in pain all my life. So, or that traumatic moment was very, very painful for me. And, some people just don't want to go through the painful process anymore. But truly we have to. We have to go into the depths of that healing process and just swim right into the middle of the painful area, even if we don't want to. So pain is part of it, not just swimming at a surface level of the pain. We have to go in deep, and that's what I like to do. I like to go in deep into the crevices of our hell within our souls. So I like to call it, it's like a soul dissection that I did on myself. And I think that's very necessary for a lot of people to do. Other than that, they'll just be putting a band-aid on whatever trauma they have in their core. They just put band-aid after band-aid after band-aid of it, right? So I'm not sure if this video is going through. I've been watching to see if anybody lets me know, but if it's not, it's okay. It's okay. So I'm just gonna put out here, just an example of what people might be dealing with out here, or some of y'all. Some of us deal with past inner wounds of sexual abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, what else? Bullying. We've been bullied all our lives into, you either submit or I'm going to break you until you do, right? So most of our trauma, it just is rooted in those wounds, right? And most of it is out of fear. I mean, I think at this point, everybody knows that most of our traumas are based on fear. So the fear is just, we use it like a cover up in a way. We use it like a cape, right? To protect ourselves. So it's like subconsciously we live in fear, but we really don't know that we're living in fear, if that makes sense. Because we've been, rejected. We've been, bullied into dimming our light, into diminishing ourselves and who we truly are, right? So that sometimes it just blinds us in a way, because we're using this cover up based on that fear, and we just keep on putting layers and layers of, I don't know, let's see, my main issue that I was dealing with was self-acceptance, right? Because my self-acceptance was rooted deeply in the area that I was always rejected for who I was. I was, I mean, ever since I remember, I was always rejected, you know, and it began, I think it begins in the womb, whenever we're in the womb, because even when a female is carrying the child in their womb, they can hear, they can feel all the experience that the mother is going through. The child in the womb is hearing everything. That's already again ingrained in the child's psyche, and even, you know, even if they don't understand it, it'll be so ingrained in their psyche. So if the mother goes through traumatic moments when she's pregnant, the child's gonna be born with that. If the child is rejected in the womb, you know, and whatever the mother goes through, that affects the child a lot. So based on that rejection, you know, we're automatically born into a world that already rejected us before we were born. And I'm not saying everybody goes through that. I'm just saying probably over 50% of the human population goes through that, because I mean it's a karmic realm we come into, right? So that being the case, I know I had a lot of issues with rejection, and my rejection was, you know, well, who are the first ones that reject you, right? It's first is the parents or whatever family members or whatever situation it is. And I know they don't do it on purpose. I mean, that's just a human condition. That's just a human domesticated way of things, that we are automatically brought into this realm head first, you know, like I call it the upside down. And we're automatically rejected. So me, ever since I was a child, I remember just being rejected for who I was. Just, you know, I cannot be myself. I had to be a certain way. I had to act a certain way. I had to speak a certain way. I had to behave myself accordingly a certain way. And that's just part of the human domestication, right? But whenever we're going through that, you feel like, okay, well, it's not okay to be me. But then nobody explains to you why is it not okay to be you. They just try to break you over and over and over in whatever way, shape, or form possible. So you start rejecting who you truly are. You start rejecting the raw essence that you brought in here. And it's slowly bullied away from you. It's slowly taken away from you, right? It is slowly, like bit by bit, just diminished away from you. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like they take chunks. Little by little, they start diminishing you till you become a whole different other person. You build this entire psyche of another person that you truly are not. So in that sense, you know, you start rejecting yourself. And it's basically, you know, we grow up with that, thinking it's normal, right? And then we go through all these traumatic episodes, the mental abuse, the emotional abuse, you know, and some of us, in a lot more than we want to admit, a lot of us have been sexually abused, and mainly it happened in our childhood, right? So what I had to heal first was the part in me that rejected myself, my true self, who I really was, who I became in a certain way where I could not accept parts of myself that really was me, because I was told they were wrong, because I was broken into rejecting those parts in me. I was bullied and you know, abused in every way, shape, and form to reject myself, to reject the true essence that I brought in here. So in that area, you know, I think a lot of us struggle through that, because if we are not accepting ourselves, if we're just living through life through this persona that we built according to what we were told to, you know, That's who you got to be. So then you begin to, I mean, in a way it's all confusing, but you end up rejecting who you truly are. You end up rejecting, the part in you that is really you. So self-acceptance is like a big, big, humongous issue, I think, amongst whole humanity. Because if you see it, this is why people have the necessity, they have this requirement in themselves to wear a mask, right? They have this this need where, oh, let me pretend to be this, and they have to put on different facades that just, it diminishes them instead of bettering them. It just brings them down because they have this humongous issue within them of that self-rejection. Why? Because that's the first thing they've learned. That's the first thing they probably heard when they were in the womb, when they were in their mother's womb. And especially if the mother went through a lot of traumatic moments when she was pregnant. So that self-rejection is deeply ingrained in us, and a lot of us don't even notice it. This is why we have so much trouble facing things within us. We pretend they're not there, and we just try to find whatever band-aid there is for it. So a big deal is, we say that most of our inner wounds are based on fear. But okay, if they're based on fear, where did that fear come from, right? And in a way, I don't know if it's fear first, then rejection second. But I have a hard time putting it in that perspective, because if your psyche, if it's programmed to where they're telling you, and this is a living thing, right? You're already a living cell. Even if you can't speak, even if you can't, you're not out here physically understanding or being able to communicate, if you're still a child in the mother's womb, but you're feeling the rejection. And let's face it, this whole realm is made of what? Emotions, right? So, I mean, through emotion, you create. Whatever you create through your emotional essence, through your emotional body, that's what has the most effect. I mean, this is why they say that, you have to have love. When you have that love, that passion, when you have that emotion in it, that's how you create. So I think that the fear is composed of mainly rejection, because this realm automatically rejects you. So that's already being ingrained into the cells when the baby is getting formed. That's just my perspective in it. I mean, I know not everybody's going to agree with it, but that's just what I've learned, what I've seen, what I've witnessed, what I, lived myself. So that humongous part in us that keeps rejecting ourselves is like a humongous area where our wounds are not completely able to heal, or they're not easy to heal, because we are not, okay, I can see the wound as, the wound. Okay, well, I had this trauma in my life when I was younger, and I got sexually abused. So I focus on that inner wound. But to be able to fully heal that inner wound of that sexual trauma, there was something based that inner sexual trauma wound gets a hold of that rejection, that self-rejection, right? So it's not completely able to heal if you focus on that that trauma, that the moment of being sexually abused, and you want to go in it and you want to heal that. You're going to have a hard time being able to heal it if you don't see the self-rejection that you had prior to that sexual trauma, because that's like the foundation that wound is going to be grabbing onto. So it's like the fear comes after, the self-rejection, because the whole world rejected you, beginning with your parents. And then when you come into this world as a tiny baby, you come into what? You don't come into love and light. We come into all this freaking chaos, don't we? Most of us. I mean, I know a lot of us don't. And I salute you for having such a wonderful childhood. because a lot of us don't have that. And most of us that are deeply wounded have that self-rejection in us. And after that, a whole bunch of other wounds start piling up. You know, the bullying, the mental, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, be it in whatever form or shape it that you went through, that clings to that self-rejection. I mean, they're already telling you, they're breaking your psyche down slowly. No, don't do that. No, don't do this. I mean, even when you're a tiny baby, and very few parents explain to their children, all right, well, this is how you do things, before, like trying to tell them, no, don't do that. And the little child is all confused, like, okay, don't do that. So it's like the root of self-rejection begins right there, right? Because then you're like, okay, don't do that, but you don't have an explanation of why. And then, the years pass you by, and all this self-rejection is already beginning to take form. It begins to flourish into, well, you have to hide yourself because you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't act like this, you can't, move this way or say this or act this way, just whatever. But it's a very tiny seed that gets planted into our psyche, that I've seen, and that begins whenever we're in the mother's womb. That self-rejection, because another human already rejected us, or you come in here and then you start being corrected, and your authenticity, your raw essence that you bring in here, they start breaking it down, they start bullying it, until a lot of big part of you is taken away from you. It's just snatched from the innocence of this child, right? It's just completely, I don't know how to describe it, but it seems like it's just tore apart from the child, that it shouldn't be torn apart. A child shouldn't be, how do I put it? Shouldn't be forced or bullied or broken down into rejecting parts of itself, because that's who they are. That's how they came into this world. And some parents, and most parents, instead of, enjoying that little human that comes in here with their full light and full of bubblies and everything, instead of engaging and growing their strengths, they start taking parts of that child. They start, smacking them or correcting them. Don't do this, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. But they have no explanation for it. So that self-rejection is so deeply ingrained in our psyche that this is why, as a grown-up, you have a hard time believing in yourself. And you have no sense of, how do I say it? You have no sense of, okay, this is who I am, and I don't give a damn who likes it or not, right? This, and it's that self-esteem that we call it. But if it wouldn't have been taken away from us when it was, we wouldn't be struggling with it. So a lot of our wounds that we have, on top of that self-rejection, we're going to have a hard time healing those. Because if we don't deal with the main one, and this is why I call it, let's heal the multiple layers of trauma. Because on top of the self-rejection, where our personality, our raw essence was slowly taken from us bit by bit, by this, by that. I mean, first it begins with what? Our parents, our siblings, and then what? Religion, schools, the system, and then we begin being bullied by our peers, and all kinds of shenanigans that we go through, and we pile up all this shit on top of the whole rejection mode. That is something that we must deal with. And if we really dig in deep, a lot of our wounds, even if we try to heal the let's say the sexual trauma, and I'm gonna be referring to this a lot because that's just my own personal experience. We go through that trauma or through whatever bullying that we went to or through. Then we start getting into a lot of trouble. We start using substances as just band-aids, right? And we spiral out of control into trying to soothe the wounds, the pain that we feel inside, right? those pieces of us that were taken away, we feel they were taken away. And we just try to put band-aids on our wounds. It doesn't matter, what we use. I mean, we could use exercise. We could use food. We could use other substances, right? Which is alcohol, whatever. We can use attention hoarding. I used to reference that a lot a while back. Where we're always seeking attention because we want that approval. Or we can go into we can use money as a freaking substance, where you get so focused on, I gotta pile up all this money, blah, 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 and then you destroy your whole freaking life and other people's lives. You can use what else can we use? I don't know, partying, mingling. It's a whole charade of things that we use to soothe whatever trauma that we've been through, that, other humans gave to us or bestowed upon us in our innocence, mainly because, let's face it, that's how the negative energy keeps being alive, right? Being so strong. That's how it survives, at taking the innocence, at a small, tiny humans. So we can use a lot of stuff to band-aid our inner wounds. And I think more than fear is the self-rejection part. Because if we've been rejected by so many people that were supposed to be there to love us and encourage us and grow us in a positive way, instead they started taking pieces of us. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. And they start breaking you down. So the self-rejection is going to be like a big old foundation that I found, and when I was going through my own healing. That self-acceptance. It was very, very hard for me to accept who I was. And I never lost myself, and that's coming from a person that's never lost themselves in the whole chaos of all that abuse that I went through. The mental, the emotional, the spiritual abuse, the physical abuse. I never lost myself, but I did have a huge problem with accepting myself. I could not accept myself completely because I was told, this and that, and I was just automatically programmed into rejecting who I truly was. I came into this earth knowing what I knew, to do what I knew, what I had to do. And slowly, other humans started breaking that from me, right? They started telling me, no, that's not right, that's wrong, that's what do they call it? That's evil, that's from the devil, you're a witch, blah blah blah. Just some ridiculous nonsense that it didn't make sense to me. But then it does get ingrained in your psyche, right? Especially when you're younger. If you're able to do these wonderful things, and I'm talking spiritually, you can shift the energy so quick. Spiritually, you can do a lot of things that not a lot of people are aware of. But if it scares an older human, they automatically, title you a certain way. So they make you feel bad because you're able to do that and they're scared of it. And so I had a hard time dealing with that, I had to re-accept myself in a way, because that self-rejection was a huge part of all these other wounds. It was like the self-rejection was a magnet for the rest of the wounds to still stick to my soul, to still be there. And even if I visited that, and I would pray a lot, I would pray a whole lot. I went through this episode where before I got pregnant with my last son, he's 27 years old now. But before that, I battled God so bad where, I knew this. I knew a lot of things that I shouldn't have known. But since I was in this church for about 7 years, Christian church, and a lot of stuff that didn't make sense. Everything was bad. Everything was bad. I'm talking about everything. God forbid, even my breath became a goddamn sin. So I battled God really, really bad. Like, who do they say? Not is it Jacob that battled God? I used to sleep on my knees on a couch I did that. I fasted for a whole month. I prayed. I would fall asleep on my knees. I would wake up on my knees for hours and hours. I fasted so freaking much, and I battled God, and I said, you know what? I can't deal with it. This is not right. Blah blah blah. And that's when I started, discovering. And I didn't go in so deep. It was just my whole attitude of, if this is not right, then why is it in me, right? If this is not right, then why do I know that it's right? So until we go into our depths, right, and we truly begin to question, why can't I accept this of myself that I know I am? Because we know who we are. We know you know your own capabilities. You know your own gifts. You know who you are. But out of that self-rejection, it's like it's stronger it's been so deeply ingrained in your psyche that it's so hard for you to heal anything else, because you're having such a hard time overcoming this self-acceptance. Like, yes, this is who I am. Yes, God gave me this. Yes, God made me like this. I was brought into this world knowing this. I came in here knowing this, right? So a big part of our healing has to do with us accepting ourselves. Has to do a lot with us stopping the cycle of, no, I'm not this. No, I'm not that. And I'm talking about what your soul knows. You inside yourself, within you, you know exactly who you are. And you have to accept that. You must accept that. Other than that, this whole world is going to rob you blind. Completely blind out of your whole essence. And you're not going to be able to embody your whole essence in every way, shape, and form. And we're talking about spiritually, mentally, emotionally. All those three equals, the physical form that you take on. And until you accept every part of you just as you are, it doesn't matter how much therapy you take. It doesn't matter how much drugs you take. It's not going to matter how much you mingle. It's not going to matter how much approval you get from your outer world. Anything you use as a freaking band-aid to heal whatever you have in here, until you accept yourself as you truly are, without rejecting any part of yourself, that's when you're going to start healing. So I know a lot of wounds have been deeply rooted in us due to fear, right? Fear of, again, the main one is fear of rejection. It's the fear of anybody else rejecting who the hell we are, because they don't accept us the way we are, right? So you start molding yourself into who they accept, into what they do accept, into what they feel comfortable with according to you. You start molding into a whole different being that you're not. So it's like a big part of our healing. We have to accept ourselves. And I think the fear comes after. The fear comes after, because if you can go into the root of just accepting yourself, just stop rejecting yourself, please. Stop rejecting who you truly are, who you know that you truly are, without anybody else's approval, without anybody else cheering you on who you truly are. You just are what you are, and that's that. Take it as it is, because that's who you are. You're not here to change yourself to fit into this world, okay? You were born, when you came into this realm, you came in here with certain abilities, certain spiritual abilities, certain gifts. You were brought in here with a certain frequency, certain essence that nobody else in this world has. Nobody else will ever have. It's only one of you, okay? There's no other like you. You bring a certain type of frequency, a certain type of energy that makes a big shift in this whole human collective. And for you to be fully embodied in that energy, you must accept yourself. Otherwise, you're still going to be living in fear. You're still going to be trying to band-aid any damn wound that all these humans have piled up into your psyche, into your emotional body, into your mental body, into, you know, your whole you. So I think a big part of seriously healing, like truly healing, where I say, okay, I always use this as a reference. I'm going to go in for the kill. If I'm going to make a move, I'm going to go in for the kill. Otherwise, I'm not going to make a move. Because what's the use of it, right? That's just me, though. I know that's not everybody. But if I'm going to start healing, I'm going to go in to where I know the source of my healing is. I am going to go root out that weed out of that spot right there and root it out. Just root it out. And then you can just start working your way into other areas. Because until I started accepting myself, who I truly was, where I started, you know, dissecting every part of me, everything I was told that I was not, I was. Everything that you know, other humans have tried to break out of me, that was part of me. How in the hell are they're not going to accept who I am if that's part of me? That's their problem, not my problem. So until I started accepting myself, rooting out that rejection, that self-rejection, I started rooting out. I just yanked it out, just completely pulled it out. And yes, it's very painful, guys. It's very, very painful. So you have to root out that self-rejection and tell yourself, you know, I love you. I love you, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for treating you like this. I'm sorry for rejecting you. You know, please forgive me for rejecting you for so long, because you're part of me. Until then, that's when I started being able to heal the other parts of me that needed healing. Before that, I couldn't even look at the other damages that I had, until I started accepting myself fully, just completely fully how I was, without seeing anything negative. And okay, I see what I see, I know what I know, and I am who I am and what I am. Before doing that, I cannot heal. I would just go through these episodes where I would pour out my soul, just me and God. You know, it was just me and God, no other human. I would just pour out my soul, and I would pray a lot. I would fast, because that's always worked for me. Okay, I don't know if anybody does it out there, but it's a wonderful thing to do. I would fast. I would go through these episodes, and I would pour my heart out, my whole soul out, and I just couldn't understand it. I couldn't see why I had to revisit the whole thing all over again. And you know, I would just go into these episodes of, I would feel good for I don't know, weeks, months, and then that wound would come back. That the memories of the sexual abuse would come back to me, and they would really attack me so bad where I couldn't function. So I had to use substances to soothe that pain, right? I had to use whatever substance I could get a hold of. You know, I just needed to soothe it down. And then I would go into another episode where I would, okay, I'm going to start, you know, praying again, really hard for this one thing again. God, please take these memories out of me, blah, blah, blah. And I would start fasting again. And it was this constant cycle of this. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I'm being honest with myself. Yes, this hurts. Yes, this happened. Yes, I accept this. But why am I not healing from it? And it took me a while. And, you know, till my higher ups, I call them. Because you're not accepting yourself. Because you have been rejected by this realm ever since you became fully human. So that's where you got to go. You got to go to the source. And I'm like, damn. Well, that makes perfect sense. So, in me sharing this with y'all, I hope this helps somebody out there, because most of our issues, and it doesn't matter what issue you're dealing with, until you go to the real source of your wounds, you're not going to be able to heal anything. You're just going to be, it's like a temporary fix. You just need to get to your next fix. It doesn't matter what you use to put a band-aid over the pain. Okay, it's just going to be a temporary fix over and over and over, a never-ending cycle, until you fully accept who you are, until you fully accept yourself, until you deal with that energy of self-rejection within you, that's the source of your wounds. You can pile up whatever wound. Yes, this happened to you. Yes, you've seen this. Yes, you went through this traumatic moment. Yes, these other humans did this to you. Yes, all this bullshit that we just keep piling up since we can remember. But until you don't go in there and fully root out that self-rejection, that's the one that's going to make the difference. Because then you're able to accept yourself. You need your whole you. Nobody else needs you more than you do. Okay? Please understand that. Nobody else, nothing else needs you more than you do. So you have to root that self-rejection out of you. And you have to work hard. There's self-healing takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of focus, discipline, where you get so damn serious on healing you, nothing else freaking matters. Yes, you have to function, while you're healing. You have to function in this world just like everybody else, but you need to prioritize your healing. You need to invest, be fully invested in your healing. No matter what, no matter who, you must be fully invested in you, fully accept you. Okay? So stop rejecting the part of you that is you. It doesn't matter who likes it. It doesn't matter who gets uncomfortable by it. Outer irrelevancies are just make them non-existent, because you should prioritize yourself first. And the source of you is you. That self-acceptance is going to help you heal the rest of the pile of shit that we have piled up in our lives. Okay, so just whatever you're dealing with out there, whatever obstacle, whatever issue, whatever fears, whatever, I don't know, what is it? I know a lot of us deal with a lot, and we can, this goes to going through that soul dissection. You have to dissect your whole being to be able to start healing, but you have to be fully invested in it. Otherwise, you're just going to put band-aids on it, and you could be using band-aids on it till you die. Okay, until you are serious, fully committed, fully invested on accepting yourself and healing you. The rest is just going to be band-aids. All right, and you can use people, places, and things as freaking band-aids, and that's what everybody does. Everybody uses people, places, and things to put over them wounds. So whatever you're dealing with out there has a source of the source of that wound began before the wound began. It has a foundation, and you have to go all the way in there. Even if it's painful. Okay, because part of healing is opening that wound again and making sure that you take the poison out. And that's the poison. The main poison is you rejecting yourself. You're rejecting who you truly are, what you truly are. A part of all the damage that other humans have caused you, have bestowed upon you, and then have drilled in your psyche. The most important part is you stopping that cycle of you rejecting you. Because if you reject you, you're not going to heal. Okay? And I'm just going to be blunt. Keep rejecting yourself. Just forget about fucking healing, because you're not. You can't. Part of healing yourself, you have to accept yourself just as you are. With all its positive and negatives. With its light and its darkness. You must accept yourself. Stop rejecting yourself. Okay? So I hope this helps somebody out there. I didn't want to make this video too long. I would like to help somebody out here, that is struggling with whatever. I do have very good information that helps people, but I don't know how to distribute it if I don't know who needs what. So if you're struggling with something, if you're wanting the help, and you're willing to work on yourself, you can reach out to me. Don't be iffy about it. Okay, I'm not here to hurt people. I'm here to help people. I'm here to help what our humanity heal and evolve. Okay, from my own level of consciousness, I know I'm not, this superhuman that's so intelligent that blah blah blah. No, I'm just helping, you know, our humanity, just like anybody else. I want to share what worked for me. I want to share that with other people, help them heal, just like I healed myself. And just from my own level of consciousness, right? Maybe something out here that I know, a little tiny bit of whatever I know might help somebody else. So don't doubt to reach out to me. I think my email is on here. You can inbox me or whatever, and I would love to help anybody out here that's struggling with whatever. But yes, your healing is a painful process. That's part of your healing. You must feel it to heal it.